This beautiful woman is a cold corpse lying in the funeral home. The black coat was cut open and discarded by the mortician. Just as the scissors were about to cut off her red sling, the woman suddenly opened her eyes. But the mortician was not only not scared at all, he also told the woman, "You just died in a car accident." The woman who thought she was in heaven was named Anna. She had been in love with her boyfriend Paul for many years. Their relationship was not what it used to be. For some reason, Anna was always depressed. She even started taking antidepressants. As an elementary school teacher, Anna was very close to Jack, a kid who always kept to himself. One day after school, Anna went to the funeral home to attend the funeral of her piano teacher. When she was looking at the body of her piano teacher, she suddenly noticed that the teacher's mouth was slightly open in the coffin. The next moment, everything was back to normal. Anna thought she was hallucinating because of her mental illness. Not caring about this, Anna left in a hurry after the funeral. She arrived at Paul's restaurant as promised. Paul had been waiting for a long time. He was going to propose to Anna tonight, but he didn't go straight to the point. Instead, he said he was moving to another city to work. He wanted to share the joy of his promotion and raise in salary, and propose in the meantime, and invited Anna to go to another city with him. But Anna misunderstood that Paul wanted to take the opportunity to propose a breakup. Anna ignored Paul's explanation and drove away in a rage. On the way back, it was raining heavily. Anna, who was upset, started to drive faster and faster. The sound of loud music, the blinding high beams of the car behind her drove her crazy. Eventually, Anna was involved in a car accident. When she woke up on the operating table at the funeral home, she didn't believe she was dead. After all, she was normal, except for her inability to move. Mortician Elliot produced her death report. Anna had been issued a death report by the hospital 8 hours earlier. In the face of this authoritative certificate, Anna still did not believe it. She was still breathing and talking, and she was not dead. Elliot said with a familiar face, "You all say that. Maybe you should take a break." Then he turned off the lights and closed the door, leaving Anna alone on the cold operating table. At this point, Paul didn't know Anna had died. After repeated phone calls and no response, he went to Anna's school and still found nothing. When holding flowers and preparing to go to the door in person, he found out from Anna's mother that her girlfriend had died in a car accident. At the funeral home, Anna begged Elliot to leave her alone, but Elliot always insisted that. Anna was just afraid to face the reality. Then a sedative was injected, forcing Anna to fall into a deep sleep. It turned out that Anna's mother had come early. Looking at her daughter's forehead, which was being stitched up from the accident, the mother couldn't bear to look directly and hurriedly left. As night falls, Anna finally regains consciousness. She wanted to call the outside world, but the phone here didn't work. Anna ran to the door and called for help as hard as she could, but there was no response. Just then, she heard a familiar voice. It was her boyfriend, Paul, coming. Paul's voice gave her a glimmer of hope, but in the basement, Anna screamed as loud as she could. Paul, who had been chased away by Elliot, couldn't hear her. A helpless Anna rages at Elliot, "Why won't you let my boyfriend see me?" Elliot smiled contemptuously, "So what if I did? You're dead. All you have to do now is learn to let go." Anna is reluctant and steals a pair of surgical scissors. She tries to sneak up on Elliot as he approaches her. Unfortunately, it failed. A furious Anna thought she could kill Elliot, but Elliot was right in front of her and she gave up the fight. She couldn't understand even if Elliot was telling the truth. She was dead, so why was she able to talk to him? Elliot explains that it's because he has a gift for it, the ability to talk to dead spirits. Anna's extreme resistance was pointless, because in 2 days she will be buried and leave this world completely. Hearing this, Anna hesitated a bit. After she woke up, she had a breakdown. She went crazy and broke all the things in the room. The cold and lifeless place made her feel like it was hell. Looking at the black mourning clothes sent by her mother, Anna decided to fight again. Steals Elliot's keychain from his pocket when he's not looking. After hearing him drive out the door, Anna started to try one by one with each key. In her haste, she makes a mistake and breaks the key in the lock cylinder. At the same time, Elliot, who was paying after filling up, noticed that his pockets were empty. He immediately returned to the car and quickly returned to the funeral home. Anna, on her side, finally escaped from the basement, but her body was still a little weak from the sedative. She stumbled across the large room and opened the door, but Elliot came back just then. The blinding headlights made Anna flee to the basement again. At this time, Elliot thought he had forgotten the key on the door, but the movement in the kitchen still alerted him. Behind the wall, Anna clutches the knife in her hand, ready to strike back, but Elliot didn't come any closer and turned away. Anna continued to look for an opportunity to climb up to the second floor. She dialed her boyfriend Paul's cell phone. After a long wait, Paul finally picked up the phone, but all that came out of his earpiece was a noise. Elliot's sudden appearance broke Anna's heart when she couldn't get help. He told Anna that only he could hear her voice. Other living people cannot communicate with her at all. In the mirror, Anna saw her pale, bloodless self, At this moment, she finally chose to believe. She was already a dead person. But unbeknownst to her, the moment she closed her eyes and bowed her head, the fog that only a living person can breathe appeared on the mirror. Elliot was so shocked that she gently wiped it away with a cloth without moving. At the same time, there was a small figure standing outside the window. And he is the one who is close to Anna, Jack. Seeing his favorite teacher come back from the dead. This feeling, I'm afraid, is not just a simple panic. On the other hand, Paul heard Anna's voice. Anna's voice suddenly appeared in Paul's ears. The shower head suddenly started to run, and there was a figure standing underneath. It was Paul's girlfriend. Then, the woman slowly turned around, holding up the heart she had just pulled out of her body, staring at Paul with a deadly stare. Paul woke up with a start and realized that it was just a dream. He felt that something was not right. With the help of his friends at the police station, he saw Anna's car. The severely deformed body was a testament to the tragic accident that night. He went to school to collect Anna's belongings, and Paul was devastated, especially when Jack tells him that he saw Anna wearing a red dress. Paul's emotions were out of control on the spot, because in his memory, Anna did not have a red dress. But when he passed by a clothing store, the red dress in the window made him suddenly react. The morning of Anna's accident, she did wear a red halter dress under her clothes. Paul rushed to the funeral home. Despite Elliot's resistance, he rushed in and shouted Anna's name. He was convinced that Anna was alive and behind this door. At that moment, Anna heard the voice, but did not open the door. She thought that perhaps this was the result of her own refusal to let go. Even if she let Paul in, she was still just a corpse to him. Paul, who was unable to find Anna, he went to his friend in the police force and asked him to issue a search warrant for him. His friend thought he was being unreasonable. The nearly wrecked car and the death certificate from the coroner. It was enough to prove that Anna was killed in the accident. Paul was convinced that Anna was being held captive by Elliot. Maybe some drug was used to fake her death to fool the coroner. The phone call he received with all the noise might have been Anna's distress call. He was so mad that his friend ignored his plea. Just tell him to calm down and learn to accept the reality. On the cold operating table, Anna talked about the regrets of her life. Year after year, her life was dull and uneventful. She was like a walking corpse every day. She also tried to change, but in the end, she was back to square one. Talking about Paul, the only one she ever loved, Anna burst into tears. Elliot dresses Anna in her funeral clothes, and she calmly lies down in the coffin. Anna was ready to leave. Anna, who wanted to take one last look at herself, suddenly noticed the water mist on the mirror. It dawned on her that she was still alive. Noticing that something was wrong, Elliot desperately grabbed the mirror. Anna, who was struggling, was given another injection of sedative. The next day, the funeral was held as scheduled. Paul brought the ring that he didn't have time to give away. After the funeral, Anna in the coffin finally regained consciousness. She beat on the lid of the coffin and screamed for help, but the people outside couldn't hear her. Shovel after shovel of earth eventually buried her completely. After the funeral, Paul was still in a state of grief. Elliot came over and told him the truth. Maybe you were right. You don't have much time left. Suddenly awakened, Paul did not have time to revenge, drove straight to the cemetery. Because of the drink and the huge emotional ups and downs, Paul was also unfortunately involved in a car accident. When he woke up, he was just like Anna. He was also lying in Elliot's funeral home. Paul, on the other hand, was killed by Elliot with a steel pipe. In fact, as a mortician, Elliot is a homicidal maniac with a special fetish. Those who have lost hope in life are dead to him. On the full-page photo wall, those with open eyes are Elliot's prey. The film is called Afterlife. This film is not just about psychopathic killing. It's about life. It teaches us to cherish each day in our limited life. If you like my videos, then please click a subscribe. Thank you.